Ayrton Senna's death. Telemetry explains the cause of the accident that changed the history of F1. It's May 1st, 1994, and Ayrton Senna has just started the 7th lap in the lead of the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola. Senna's car is travelling at over 300 kilometers per hour, when at the entrance to the Tamburello curve, the car goes off its trajectory and crashes into the concrete wall. The race against time at the Maggiore Hospital in Bologna is useless. At 6:40 p.m, the famous Brazilian driver, a 3-time Formula 1 champion with McLaren, is declared dead. It took a lot to ascertain the real cause of Ayrton Senna's fatal accident. Someone like him could have taken that curve with his eyes closed. Only on May 27, 2005, during the second appeal trial, the court recognized the cause of the fatal accident was the steering column failure. It was not the crash itself that killed Senna, but a piece of the right wheel suspension arm that broke after the impact and lodged right in his helmet. The violent impact left no escape for the Brazilian driver. According to experts and insiders, if the suspension had not taken that absurd trajectory, Senna would have survived the accident, probably without any particular consequences. What caused the accident? The story of the steering column actually has a background. On the eve of the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola, Senna had requested a modification made to the steering because the car's cockpit was very narrow. So narrow that when he turned the steering wheel, his knuckles rubbed against the body, which, according to the driver, affected his performance quite a bit. Finally, before that race, the team proposed the solution of lengthening the steering column. So the technicians sawed it in two and inserted an additional piece with a slightly smaller diameter. The breakage of the column occurred precisely at the point where the welding had taken place, made with a less resistant material, which emerged from the trial. What happened on May 1st, 1994? The last moments before impact. The two key elements used as evidence to prove that it was the broken steering column that caused Ayrton Senna's car to go off the track are 1. The telemetry of the car, or the data that the car control units record during a race. 2. The video car camera of Senna, where an anomalous movement of the driver on the steering wheel is evident. The telemetry. From the telemetry, you can get a track that is a bit like an electrocardiogram of the car during the race. The main parameters are represented with curves that indicate how fast the car is going, when it brakes, when it accelerates, when it decelerates, and so on. The telemetry during an F1 race collects data from every single lap. Therefore, it is reset every time you cross the finish line. If we look at the telemetry of Ayrton Senna's 7th lap, in particular the last 2 seconds that preceded the crash, this graph was used in the Senna court case to demonstrate that the cause of the accident was the broken steering column. Let's see what it says. Okay, we start from 11 seconds, the seconds that have passed since Senna began the 7th lap. Up to 11 seconds, Senna's race progress is regular. The first line at the top, that blue, it is the line of the speed. At 11 seconds, the speed value, while Senna is entering the Tamburello curve, it is over 300 kilometers per hour. The red line, it's the line of the butterfly. Basically, it's the accelerator. When the curve is flat and horizontal, it means he's flat on the floor. When it's vertical, it means his foot is off the accelerator. Always at 11 seconds, Senna is accelerating regularly. His driving does not present any anomalies. Now let's examine at the same time the steering data that correspond to the green line and the dark blue line. Precisely, the green line indicates the hydraulic steering pressure. The dark blue indicates the force applied to the steering wheel. To give you an idea of how these lines work, if I apply force to the steering wheel by turning it to the right or to the left, the hydraulic pressure increases. Let's go a little further to the second 11.3 seconds, so 3/10 of a second later. Here, the telemetry reveals the first anomaly. The butterfly line drops to 50% of its full opening. It means that Ayrton suddenly lifted his foot off the accelerator. The car is decelerating. Why did Senna suddenly lift his foot? If we look at the hydraulic pressure of the steering, at 11.3 seconds, it starts to collapse, although the dark blue line indicates that the pilot is still applying force. After 2/10 of a second, at 11.5 seconds, the butterfly, red line, collapses to 0. Senna has lifted his foot completely off the accelerator. The speed also drops sharply. Senna is braking to reduce the speed, but the car is probably already out of control. At 12.3 seconds, the control unit is out of order. This is evident from the crazy hydraulic pressure line, a sign that the car is now uncontrollable. The speed at 12.3 seconds, it's not the real one, because the sensors are now in a mess. Everything shuts down at 12.8 seconds, the moment of impact. The car camera video, to have a complete picture of the dynamics, these telemetry data were synchronized with the race videos, digitized and cleaned by Kineca, the main Italian computing center. In particular, 3 perspectives were considered. Schumacher's car camera footage, who at that moment was just behind Senna, the one of the external view of the tambourine, and Ayrton Senna's camera car. This last perspective proved to be crucial because it shows right in correspondence with the first telemetry anomaly, an anomalous movement of the steering wheel. The investigations focused on a yellow light button. As Senna starts to travel to the infamous Tamburello corner, steering to the left, we see that this yellow dot leaves its typical trajectory, lowering towards the right in a completely unusual way and signaling the fracture of the steering column. In the last frame, the button is visibly moved by more than 30 millimeters compared to its normal position, highlighting a clear steering problem. In March 26, 1997, the News of the World revealed in an interview with Regional Technical Commissioner Fabrizio Nosco, who worked for 10 years at the Imola track. Nosco reported, "The wreckage of Senna's car was brought into the park firm and put in the garage. Then, 10 minutes later, 2 Williams mechanics came and asked to see the car. We politely told them that this was impossible because of FIA rules, but according to Nosco, the FIA's technical delegate in Imola, Charlie Whiting, arrived soon after with 2 more Williams mechanics and ordered him to remove the car's black boxes. The Renault engine black box was situated behind the cockpit. Nosco removed it with a pair of large pliers. The Williams chassis black box was behind the radiator near the back wheel on the right side of the car. I have seen thousands of these devices and removed them for checks. The 2 boxes were intact, even though they had some scratches. The Williams device looked to have survived the crash." On the 4th of July, 1997, at Senna's trial, Simon Scoynes, a Williams electronics engineer responsible for the downloading of the telemetry, admitted he had taken the Williams black box from Senna's car after the crash. The Italian police did not immediately after the accident because Ayrton Senna was not yet officially declared dead. While the Williams mechanics took the black boxes, there was not a death to investigate. This electronic telltale would eventually have to be surrendered to the Italian courts. But while it was still in the hands of Williams and Renault, The team had access to vital evidence about what happened in the moments before car crashed into the wall, and they would have been able to delete crucial evidence implicating them for the cause of the crash. The relevant Italian legislation stipulates that when a death takes place during a sporting event, the event should be immediately halted and the area sealed off for examination. In the case of Roland Ratzenberger's death, this would have meant the cancellation of both Saturday's qualifying session and the San Marino Grand Prix on Sunday. The Ratzenberger autopsy revealed that he died instantaneously as the car hit the wall, the same way that Senna died. Had the meeting been cancelled, Sargis, the organisation which administers of the Imola circuit, stood to lose an estimated $6.5 million. On his return to his native Brazil, he was given a burial in keeping with his status as a national hero. Millions of fans flocked to pay their respects, and his country declared 3 days of official mourning. The lessons learned from his accident changed the sport forever, and without a doubt has saved many lives since. It is perhaps a fitting legacy to a great man.